All right, let's dive into a really fascinating case study today. We're looking at how one single brand has managed to stay on top, and I mean way on top, for decades. We're talking about Horlicks, India's most dominant health drink, and we're going to unpack the brilliant playbook it used to build and, more importantly, defend its kingdom.
So, just how dominant is Horlicks? Well, take a look at this number. We're talking about 45%. That's its current market share in India's massive health food drinks category. Think about that. After all these years with all the competition, it still owns nearly half the market. That's just staggering.
And that right there is the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. I mean, how on earth did a drink that was originally made for infants and sick people back in the 1800s become a daily ritual in millions of Indian kitchens? It's an incredible story of strategy and smart moves.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll look at the key parts of its playbook. First, we'll see how it built this unbreakable foundation of trust. Then, we'll get into its masterful art of reinvention. After that, we'll explore how it consistently won the battle on store shelves. And finally, we'll check out its modern playbook for the challenges of today.
Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute bedrock of the whole Horlicks empire: trust. This was not some happy accident, you guys. It was a deliberate, strategic choice right from the very beginning that gave them an almost unfair advantage.
So let's rewind a bit, just for some context. Horlicks was actually founded in the US way back in the late 1800s. And its purpose? It was a nutritional supplement. When it finally came to India around 1930, it brought that whole medicinal heritage with it, which, believe me, turned out to be its secret weapon.
And this is where the genius of their early strategy really kicks in. Instead of selling it in regular grocery stores like everyone else, Horlicks was initially sold only in pharmacies. Just think about that simple decision. It brilliantly positioned the drink as something a doctor would recommend for strength and recovery. This created what you could call a medical moat of trust that competitors found almost impossible to get across.
But building trust is one thing. Staying relevant for over 100 years, that's a whole different ballgame. And this is where Horlicks truly shines. It's all thanks to its mastery of the art of reinvention.
Just look at this chart. It perfectly captures their genius. Horlicks never stuck to just one identity. It evolved. It started as a medical drink. Then, in the 80s, it pivoted to become the secret to making kids taller, stronger, sharper. After that, it broadened out to become a drink for family health. And today, it's all about scientific nutrition and immunity. They literally changed their story to match the times.
And to pull this off, they didn't just see one big market. No, they saw specific groups within it. They sliced up the population by age, targeting everyone from young kids and teenagers to women and older adults, all with customized products.
But their absolute bullseye, their core target, it was always the mother. They completely understood that mothers are the gatekeepers of a family's health. So their message was this perfect blend of the emotional appeal of a mother's care, combined with the functional promise of their child's success.
And they didn't just stop there. No way. They went on to build this entire kingdom of products around that core idea. Got a toddler? There's Junior Horlicks. Expecting a baby? Mother's Horlicks. Watching your sugar intake? Horlicks Light. They even expanded into biscuits and oats. This meant you could literally grow up with the Horlicks brand for your entire life.
Now, of course, you don't get to dominate a market without a serious fight. Horlicks has faced some intense competition for decades. So let's take a look at how they consistently outmaneuvered their rivals, both in the customer's mind and on the actual store shelf. So, let's size up the competition, right? You had Bournvita, which was all about taste and intelligence. Then there's Boost, owning that energy and sports niche. And Complan was making a very direct claim about height growth. Each had its own lane. So, how did Horlicks respond?
They hit back with this brilliant four-step counterattack. First, they leaned hard into their scientific credibility, using clinical claims to back it up. Second, they out-customized everyone with a specific product for each segment. Third, they cleverly shifted the whole conversation away from single benefits like taste and towards a broader idea of family nutrition. And finally, they always played their trump card, that century-old legacy of trust. And honestly, this is the key takeaway here. Horlicks was never, ever afraid to adapt. When competitors brought new ideas to the market, Horlicks didn't just ignore them. They learned from them. They adapted. And often they incorporated those ideas into their own strategy, but always wrapped it in their core promise of trust.
But hey, the battle's not over. Not by a long shot. Here in the 21st century, even a king has to face new threats.
So let's bring the story up to the present day and see how Horlicks is adapting its playbook to secure its future. The challenges today are, well, they're completely different. Competitors like Vita are really gaining ground. Consumers are way more health conscious now, raising some tough questions about sugar content. Plus, there's this huge shift happening towards more natural and high-protein alternatives. The old playbook just isn't going to cut it.
So what's Horlicks' move? Well, they're definitely responding. They've shifted their messaging again, moving from growth to nutrition science. They've launched new products like low-sugar and protein-plus versions to meet modern demands. Their acquisition by Hindustan Unilever gave a massive boost to their already incredible distribution power. And of course, they're all in on digital channels to reach the modern consumer where they are, online.
All right, so if we boil this whole thing down, what are the keys to the Horlicks kingdom? It's really these 5 things. 1. Build a foundation of unshakable trust. 2. Understand that you must reposition or you will die. 3. Dominate distribution. 4. Constantly expand your product line. And 5. Win people's hearts with emotional branding.
And if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. When it comes to what we put in our bodies, and especially our children's bodies, trust is the ultimate currency. It can be more powerful than taste, and it can definitely command a higher price. So to wrap it all up, why is Horlicks still the king of its category? It really comes down to this. It's never been complacent. It has masterfully balanced its incredible legacy of trust with a relentless drive to reinvent itself, to expand its offerings, and to stay relevant to every single new generation.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. When you look at the brands out there today and you apply these timeless lessons of trust, adaptation, and expansion, what brand do you think has what it takes to become the Horlicks of the next century?